Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Pijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodananda Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachariya Yamuna Tira Vanachariya Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radha Shama Sundar Radhe Radhe Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Shama Sundar Radhe Radhe Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Vrindavan Dham Jaya Gauranita, 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 Sri Sri Gauranita. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 64, Text 35 till 41. There are not so many purports, so we'll read all of the slokas and read the small purport at the end of sloka number 41. The first sloka has a short purport and the rest has no purport. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki brahma-svam duranujñātaṁ bhuktam hanti tri-pūruṣam prasahya balād bhuktam daśa pūrvān daśāparān. Brahma-svam, a brahmana's property, duranujñātaṁ, not given proper permission, bhuktam, enjoyed, hanti, destroys, tri-pūruṣam, persons, prasahya, by force, but balād, resorting to external power of the government, etc., bhuktam, enjoyed, daśa, 10, pūrvān, previous, daśa, 10, aparān, subsequent. So I'll read the translation in one time till 41, and the last shloka we can do together. So the translation of text 35. If a person enjoys a brahmana's property without receiving due permission, that property destroys 3 generations of his family. But if he takes it by force or gets the government or other outsiders to help him usurp it, then 10 generations of his ancestors and 10 generations of his descendants are all destroyed. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. According to Srila Sridhar Swami, tri-pūruṣ refers to oneself, one's son, and one's grandsons. The next shloka, text 36. Rajano Raja Lakshmyandha Natma Patam Vichakshate Nirayam Ye Bhimanyante brahma-svam sadhu balisaha. I'll skip the word for word and go to the translation. Translation. Members of the royal order, blinded by royal opulence, fail to foresee their own downfall. Childishly hankering to enjoy a brahmana's property, they are actually hankering to go to hell. The next shloka, text 37 and text 38. Grihnanti yavataha pamshun krandatam ashru bindavaha vipranam hrita vrittinam vadanyanam kutumbinam Rajano Rajakulyascha Tavato Bidan Nirankushaha Kumbhi Pakeshu Pachante Brahma Dayapaharinaha. The translation. For as many years as there are particles of dust touched by the tears of generous brahmanas who have dependent families and whose property is stolen, uncontrolled kings who usurp a brahmana's property are cooked along with their royal families in the hell known as Kumbhipaka. Text 39. Svadatam paradatam va brahma vritim harikchayah shashti varsha sahasrani vishtayam jayate krimihi. The translation: whether it be his own gift or someone else, a person who steals a brahmana's property will take birth as a worm in feces for 60,000 years. The next verse, text 40. Na me brahma dhanam bhuyat yad gridhval valpayuso naraha parajitas চ্যুta rajyat bhavanti udvejino hayah. The translation: I do not desire Brahmana's wealth. Those who lust after it become short-lived and are defeated. They lose their kingdom and become snakes who trouble others. The last text, text 41. Vipram kritagasam api naiva druyata mamakaha gdantam bahu sapantam va namaskuruta nityasaha. So here we'll do the word-for-word translation and the translation and the small purport, and then we can sum up. My dear followers, never treat a learned Brahmana harshly, even if he has sinned. Even if he attacks you physically or repeatedly curses you, always continue to offer him obeisances. The purport: Lord Krishna offers this instruction not only to his personal associates, but to all those who claim to be followers of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Ajnana Timidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namah. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Mandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Namo Vishnu Padaya. Krishna Vishnaye Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Charu Swamini Namini Snegrite Chashupranita Bhagavinam Charashabhutam Prabhu Parvata Prananam Bhakti Charupadam Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Lagayate Girim Yat Kripata Mahamande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So Hare Krishna. So here Krishna from this canto, the title of this canto is the Summum Bonum, and the title of this chapter is the deliverance of King Nirada. King Nirada was the son of King Ikshvaku, and due to a curse, that's why Krishna states here the importance and the position of a brahmana and how to behave with a brahmana, and surely though one has to be very careful of using the property of a brahmana. So here in these shlokas, Krishna explains what the impact is of stealing from a brahmana. And who is a brahmana? We'll come to that in a moment. Who is a brahmana? What are the qualities of a brahmana? And who should we consider to be a brahmana? And does this apply to everyone? Of course, it's logical that for a civilized person, stealing is, of course, a sinful activity. It's a crime. Everyone agrees with stealing from another person. Stealing, the definition of stealing is using something from some property, an object or a subject from another person without his permission. So that is also stealing. There are many forms of stealing, like you invite a worker to your home and you let him stay for 8 hours, but you don't instruct him to do the work you were planning to let him do, and you just let him sit there. If you don't pay him, you're actually also stealing from the person, because you called him, he is spending his hours. Even though he didn't do any work, it's your duty to pay him, because he already made costs and effort to come to execute your job, the job you gave him. So there are many forms of stealing. And stealing, what Krishna emphasizes in these shlokas is, stealing from a brahmana is worse than stealing from ordinary person. So Krishna emphasizes here the position of a brahmana, that any offense, or especially stealing from a brahmana, is to be considered very dangerous, and the impact of stealing from a brahmana and offending a brahmana, or making use of or abusing a brahmana's property, this is the impact of this, as it states here in the shlokas, that the root of such a person, his families, all generations and descendants, so his ancestors and the upcoming generations will be destroyed completely. And as we read in the other verse, that whether it be his own gift or someone else, a person who steals brahmana's property will take birth as a worm in feces for 60,000 years. So if we take this seriously, we stand still to the fact what the impact is, and save ourselves from 60,000 years of being in a body of a worm. And worst of all is not an ordinary worm in a sewer, but in real stool, meaning feces, like the dirt that is being rejected by the body. That will be your environment. Also, it is stated here in our shloka that if one if a person tries to enjoy Brahmana's property without his permission, so that's the definition of stealing, and he also uses help from outside, then what we just recited here, 10 generations of his ancestors and 10 generations of his descendants are all destroyed. And as we read in sloka number 37 and 38, that mostly the royal families, and we can consider Krishna is talking here about royal families. Actually, in nowadays in life, in this time, place, circumstances, royalty is more symbolic in many countries now. But actually, Krishna is referring here to everyone who has these royal opulences. So one who has this royal opulences, like you have a lot of possession, you have power over people, over others, they are childishly hankering to enjoy the property of others. And actually, that desire of enjoying the property of someone else, especially a Brahmana, is actually, as stated in text 38, is actually the desire to go to hell, the desire to go to hellish planets. There are many hellish planets, and there is also mentioned in our sloka that if one commits an offense or stealing from a Brahmana, he will be cooked in they call it kumbhipaka. Along with their families, they will be cooked in hell. So we have to be very careful. And Krishna, as Srila Prabhupada instructs us, besides a Brahmana, we have to respect everyone and take everyone, every living entity as part and parcel of Krishna. So the same respect and behavior we have towards a Brahmana, we actually should have to everyone. So we have to consider everyone as a part and parcel of Krishna and behave in such a way so we don't commit any offense to any living being in this material world, because by offending a Brahmana especially, that's why we sing at Tulsi Puja, that is a little bit comforting, like jani jani chapa pani brahma hatyadikani cha tani tani prana shanti pradakshina pade pade, meaning that actually if you circumambulate Tulsi Maharani, you will be getting free from even killing a Brahmana. But Krishna here, he warns us that the behavior towards a Brahmana should be like respecting and being righteous towards the Brahmana, so you cannot commit any offense or take his property without his permission. So it's essential that before using something from someone else, you ask permission to use something from the person. This goes for the Brahmana. So Prabhupada teaches us who is a Brahmana. Prabhupada gave us these instructions, how to recognize a Brahmana and how to behave with a Brahmana. And besides behaving with a Brahmana, Prabhupada gives us actually how to behave with everyone. So Prabhupada made most of us real Brahmanas. What does Brahmana means? Brahmana means one who has studied scripture, who has learned it. So Prabhupada, he gave us these scriptures and made us real Brahmanas. So these Brahmanas, as Brahmanas are learned, are called Pandits. So actually Prabhupada he created so many pandits and gives us the instruction that we should also together amongst ourselves, we should take these instructions seriously and apply them in our behavior towards everyone. So Krishna emphasizes here also in our last sloka, text 41, that my dear followers, never treat a learned brahmana harshly, even if he has sinned. Even if he attacks you physically or repeatedly curses you, always continue to offer him obeisances. Krishna and Prabhupada instructs us here to always stay humble, and even when someone, if you think he offends you, that is actually the right person to pay obeisances to, because actually such a person is showing our faults. So actually the instruction is, go there where you will be criticized, and then you will get humbleness and get the realization how to behave towards a devotee, towards a brahmana. And actually a Vaishnava is the perfect brahmana, because he is, besides studying scripture, he is also developing love of Godhead. He is developing and he's preaching like our Prabhupada. So he is the perfect brahmana. And here it is said, see the power of Prabhupada, as a couple of Prabhupada's disciples are here. I learned a lot from them, and I enjoy constantly when I hear their experiences with Prabhupada. See, we all know the story. Prabhupada is a perfect brahmana. Krishna warns here that this will be the impact if you cheat or steal from a brahmana. So there are many persons in the past who wanted to steal from Prabhupada. And instead of going to hell, they didn't go to hell, they became devotees. See how powerful Prabhupada is, that even a thief becomes a devotee. He doesn't burn in hell like the watch. Someone desired Prabhupada's watch, he became a devotee. On the other hand, there are also examples that people were against Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was not at all pleased with those persons, and they indeed went to hellish conditions. And like the famous story everyone knows about Mr. Nair, Prabhupada was not pleased at all with him, and he got the consequences. It depends on what the impact is of the offense towards the brahmana. So Prabhupada gave us these instructions how not to go to hellish planet and become subdued by kumbi pataka, like cooking in hell. So these instructions, Krishna says, those who claim to be my followers, everyone who claims to be a follower of Krishna, he's to be considered a devotee, because we can criticize that devotee about how many shortcomings he has, and maybe he's not being considered serious. That is also an example of how to behave towards someone you think he's not a proper brahmana. This is the point, that even when a person does not seem to be serious, and we as a person, we have so many thoughts, and many of actually beginners, they already, by seeing a person, you have a judgment. Oh, this person is such, he wears like this, or he shows off, or something else. But keep always in mind that maybe you don't take this person serious, but Krishna will take him seriously. Krishna will always take him serious. Even we discriminate, Krishna doesn't discriminate. As we have so many examples in Shastra and in present, in the past, we know that Krishna is not discriminating and he accepts everyone who wants to be his follower and who wants to surrender to the devotees and achieve love of Godhead, love of everyone. So that is the point of how to consider everyone a part and parcel of Krishna, and especially when someone is a brahmana, he is a learned brahmana, Krishna speaks here, that even when he criticizes you, and maybe you think you are he is wrong and you are right, still pay your obeisances, and this will make you humble. And this is also a thing that Prabhupada gave us, that always consider the other person who gives you instructions or points out your shortcomings, always get feedback from that person. This way you will get better. You will get better in your own devotional service. Always be open for everyone. Like in Ramayana, Angad said to Ravan that even from such a person like you, if you give me a good instruction, I'll take it. So always be in this mood that we can learn from everyone and avoid offenses. So Krishna states here the common sense in this world that stealing is a bad thing, and especially from a brahmana, which is very dangerous. So there are also stealing forms where you're not aware that you're stealing. For example, the person you invited to do some work and you don't pay him the full amount. You think, I'll pay you only for what you have done. But the person has done many more things you didn't realize. So always try to ask and get feedback from the person if he gave you permission to pay him or to use something from him. So we'll go to the next point that Krishna makes clear here, who is a brahmana, what we just mentioned, that a brahmana is someone who acts to be a brahmana. In old India, not old, many people outside in the West, also in India, they still think, and they have still the perception that when you're born in a brahmana family, you're automatically a brahmana. This is coming by time, because in past, when your father is a doctor, it was most likely that the son will also study to become a doctor. So that's why it's indoctrinated in generations that when my father is a brahmana, I'm automatically a brahmana. That is a very misconception. That is a error, because a brahmana, a vaishya, a sudra, it's not by birth, it's by your actions. You become an artist if you practice and you have talent. If you practice your talent, you will get the competence. So it is essential that to become a brahmana, you take the instructions to become a brahmana, have the competencies, the qualities, train to become a brahmana, execute activities as a brahmana. So then you should be considered as a brahmana. So here Krishna, he gives us all the warnings that you don't want to go to hell. So take these instructions. One who, Krishna says here, my dear followers, Actually, he told this to Samba, and if we read the introduction of this chapter, it is about King Nriga, who became a lizard, and Samba, the Yadu children were playing, and they were thirsty, and it was very hot, and they were seeing that the lizard was suffering in a cave or in some hole, and they wanted to pull him out. And when they didn't succeed, they called up Krishna, and Krishna came and he pulled him easily out. And Krishna asked him, how did you become in this body? How did you achieve this low bodily form? And this lizard, when Krishna touched him, he immediately came back to his original divine form. And Krishna asked him to tell everyone how he became a lizard. And as we can read in the introduction of this chapter 64, is this King Nriga. He explained that in his previous life he was a brahmana, and he was very charitable. He gave a lot of charity to many brahmanas, but one time, this is the point, he unknowingly made a mistake. There was a cow from another brahmana who wandered into his cow herd, and he didn't know that this cow, he noticed later on that this cow didn't belong to him. It was someone else's cow. So he gave this cow unknowingly. He gave this cow in charity to another brahmana. So we can read that there was a whole issue between these two brahmanas and King Nriga. And King Nriga, he proposed to those two brahmanas, I have made a mistake, each of you can take 1,000 cows, but still the issue wasn't settled. So when this King Nriga went to Yamaraj, Yamaraj said to him, do you want to have all the fruits of your pious activity? Because he was very charitable. He gave a lot of charity to many brahmanas. So he said, do you want to have first the enjoyment of your fruitive activity, of your good activities, or do you want to suffer from the mistakes you made, the offenses you made? So King Nriga, he, like many persons, it depends on the individual, he said, let me suffer first. So that's why he got this lizard body. And Krishna came and delivered him. So he unknowingly, he committed actually a crime unknowingly. He didn't know, he was not aware, and he certainly did not did this stealing on purpose. So one may ask if this was stealing because he didn't know, but still it's stealing because it's your duty to get to know that it's not yours. For example, Prabhupada gives us the example that actually if you're not gaining the knowledge, you're also stealing because you're not taking the knowledge. For example, there is your home, you're living at home, and your car is parked every day in front of the door, in front of your house. But one day, the government comes and puts a board there, no parking. It's not yours, it's public street, no parking. By routine, every day you do the same. You get out of your house and you step into your car and drive away. And you didn't even pay attention to the board. There is no parking anymore. So, when you get the fine, you don't have any excuse that you didn't see the board. It was your duty to look around and check if there is a board. See? So, this is what Krishna explains. You have to take the knowledge how to not steal from a brahmana or a devotee or commit offense. Stealing is a very big offense. It's actually a crime. So, Krishna warns us here not to commit these crimes. And always, like he says, when a brahmana, and a brahmana means one who has learned it and actually acts in that way. Like acharya, the definition of acharya is one who teaches by giving the example. So actually a brahmana should also be like this. He acts in a way that he is to be considered a brahmana, namely cleanliness. He is always speaking the truth. So there are a list of qualities you can find in Prabhupada's books. You can find a whole list, and you can make all these notes for yourself and apply it in life. And then we become a brahmana, and we become a brahmana that knows how to behave to another brahmana and not steal from anyone or anything, and especially not commit offenses to anyone or any living entity. So we have also this Krishna emphasizes here, because we also have a bhajan, E bara karuna koro Vaishnava Gosai. In one line it is said, Haristhane aparādhe tare harinam tomashtane aparādhe nahi paritran. Meaning, if you commit offense towards Hari, towards Krishna, you can be delivered by doing Harinam. But if you commit offense to a Vaishnava, there is no way. There is only one way to seek forgiveness to that Vaishnava. Because we all know this story of the Muni who curses a lot. Durvasa Muni, yes. That Durvasa Muni cursed Ambarish Maharaj, and Sudarshan was chasing him, and he even went to Shiva, he went to Narayan. Narayan said, I can't do. We all know the sloka, aham bhakta paradhino. He is subdued to the love of his devotee. So Narayan said, I can't help you. You have to go to Ambarish Maharaj yourself and seek and seek for his forgiveness. And then Sudarshan Chakra will become pacified and not be running after you. So these are many examples in Shastra and also in daily life that we have to consider not to commit those. So the impact of the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we just mentioned what the power is of Srila Prabhupada and how he teaches us also by giving this Srimad Bhagavatam to us to take these instructions and apply it so that we become a good Brahmana and one who is always righteous, speaking the truth, being tolerant, seeing everyone as part and parcel of Krishna, and never take what's not yours. Actually, nothing is ours, isn't it? Nothing is ours, everything is Krishna. So how can one, actually everyone is to be considered a thief because we think we have this body, it's my body, this is mine, or I am this, I am that. Prabhupada teaches us to let that go, that me, mine, I, and these all have connection with possessions. This is my father, this is my mother, this is my child, this is my mridanga, this is my microphone, or I am sitting here. So Prabhupada teaches us to let that go and especially behave like a devotee. Behave like a devotee, as many of our seniors here instructs. If you come to the morning program, you do your sadhana, you chant your rounds, you take prasadam, you do your study, you read Prabhupada's books, then nothing can go wrong and you will never commit any offense, because every moment you stand still to the fact, what have I done? And have empathy that if I say something to someone else, how will the person feel? How empathy means putting yourself in the shoes of the other person. If I say something, if the person says the same thing to me, how will I feel? So always keep that in consideration. Always consider how to communicate with others and how to be in loving relationship with everyone. So that is actually the instruction that Krishna gives us here, that he warns us that if you do not know, he says it here, in the last sloka, he said it. Oh, that is text 42. I read a little bit further. Krishna says, just as I always carefully bow down to the Brahmanas, so all of you should likewise bow down to them. I will punish anyone who acts otherwise. Krishna doesn't punish. Krishna has nature. Krishna has nature punishes you. You actually punish yourself. Krishna, he only warns you that don't steal from another, be always honest, and even also in temple management, even when we as an organization, or we have to deal with many business things, management persons, management devotees, they have to deal every day with these things. So these devotees especially, they are keeping these instructions in mind so that they don't commit any offense to even an ordinary living being outside. So that is indeed the summum bonum of this chapter, and there are a couple of, the text 42 is actually the last sloka of this chapter, the deliverance of King Nirada. So we have still 10 minutes left. If anyone has any addition, correction, please go ahead.
Thank you for presenting that so well. I think something to note in there was one, it affects 3 generations when you're stealing, but when someone uses like gundas or organized criminals, or they go to the government, this becomes a conspiracy.
Yes.
They think, well, who would do such a thing? But we've seen this go on where certain devotees may want somebody's position or their property, and they go to the government with lies to try to get someone in trouble or get their visa status changed, or they accuse them of crimes. I mean, this goes on even here in Vrindavan. And the difference there is, it's one thing if I saw the cell phone and I thought, well, I should just take that. It's just, but if I create a conspiracy, you have so much to think about this, that let alone is its selfishness. But if you go to the government to create a false conspiracy against someone, this is a bigger offense and even a bigger crime. Quite often the conspiracy to do such a thing, if you go to the government and conspire against someone, even if you don't do it because you tried to create a conspiracy, quite often that's even more of a crime than the actual crime. Or if you go get some gundas to help you take something, so somebody should consider their actions carefully. And I think especially for some selfish motive, if I'm going to do something bad against other devotees and use the government to do it, there's going to be a big reaction. And legally also, when it comes out that you falsified reports to government, you get in big trouble.
Definitely, Prabhu. That's this shloka we also...
Yes. And it goes on. You know, that's gone on. We've seen that where people have tried to go to the government and accuse people of crimes who didn't do it.
Exactly, yes. And exactly what Prabhu is referring to, we just read it. By using power of outside, for example, government, or creating a conspiracy, complot.
Hiring criminals?
Yes. That's why Krishna says here, it goes exactly what Prabhu says, it's even more impact and heavier than normal, and that's why the impact is that not not only he will be destroyed, he is the cause of destruction of generations to come and his ancestors. Yeah, actually, text 34, the previous verse, we did 35, says exactly this point, that poison kills only the person who ingests it, and an ordinary fire may be extinguished with water, but the fire generated from the kindling wood of a brahmana's property burns the thief's entire family down to the root. So it's heavier because, and you can see the impact that all the way to the root and in future will be destroyed. So indeed it is most heavy. Yes, heavier than the ordinary ones.
So if someone even thinks of the idea, I'm going to go to the government and create conspiracies against certain devotees so I can gain, they should put that idea out of their mind immediately.
Maybe that's why today, Maharaj, this is the point for today, to remind us all to be careful with these things.
Yes.
And always keep in consideration that we should avoid these things.
Yes.
And especially when it comes to devotees, we have to be very, we have to consider all the devotees as precious. And we have to be very careful not to lose them. And indeed, Prabhu is, many of us notice these things sometimes, and it hurts. It's very sad, and we can pray very hard for this not to happen, and try to help, wherever help is needed. Try to do your best, and we can do what we can. Everything is in Krishna's hands, Prabhupada's hands. He will find a solution. These things are going on. Kali, we are in Kali Yuga. In Vrindavan, there are also things coming in Vrindavan. But don't see them. One time you will not even see it anymore because it will be too much, and you will get frustrated by looking at those things. So better not to look at those things, and keep focused on your goal, because all those side effects will disturb your focus. You will only think about, oh, this incident happened, this problem happened. Problems need to be solved and needs to be addressed, but don't let them take the overhand. That's the main thing. And I think more very experienced sadhus are here. They can, I think they can, how do you say that? They can second that, I think. Yes.
We keep our actions clean. That's what we're responsible for.
Yes, we are responsible for our own actions, and that's why it's very important what Krishna says here. Always keep in mind what you're doing, and that's why I mentioned empathy. What is the impact of my acts towards outside? Yes. Then the outside people will also see that this person is being considerate and also takes everyone in consideration, not to hurt anyone. Yes. Thank you for your nice addition, Prabhu. Maharaj, Prabhuji, Maharaj, please, if you please add something or correct. Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Can I tell you one story of one devotee? They found out, this was in Mayapur,
Yes.
and he was stealing the donations from the life members. So they don't know what to do with him. They don't know whether to bring him to the police or punish him. So they went to Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada says that give him chance. He should stay here don't let him go.
Jai.
Don't let him go. But if he goes, then we'll give him to the police.
Haribol.
So the devotee was in Mayapur, he was doing the service, and they found him early in the morning during Mangalartik time.
Yeah.
He was trying to sneak out. So when they found him, they brought him to the police. You see, in ISKCON, usually it's easy to ask forgiveness than permission. We always do something and say sorry
Afterwards.
instead of asking permission first before then you do it.
Jai.
And this is always the same excuse. Oh, because they know that they'll be forgiven. So they will do things which is not supposed to be done. They will ask for forgiveness because Vaishnavas
Always forgives.
always, naturally, this is one of the main qualities of the Vaishnavas, to be forgiving,
Yes.
to be tolerant,
Yes.
to be compassionate.
Yes.
But we should not take advantage of that.
Jai.
And Prabhupada
Yes.
will always give 4 chances, not 3. In America, or in cricket, 3 strikes, you're out. But Prabhupada will give 4
Jai
chances.
Srila Prabhupada.
After that,
Done.
Hare Krishna.
Jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you so
Thank you
much,
so much,
Maharaj. Jai. And Maharaj tells a very important thing. Also,
Can I make one?
yes,
That-
yes, Maharaj.
That's such a good point that we're so merciful. And sometimes that works as an excuse that I made a mistake and I want forgiveness. But if they end up going to court, that doesn't work there. Because once you commit the crime, it's like even the mafia people say, don't commit the crime if you can't do the time. So you think, if I'm going to do something wrong, how am I going to pay for this?
It's like here in India, we drive on the left side. So Prabhupada giving a story where an Indian went to America. So he forgot to drive on the right side because he's using the left side.
Yes.
So he went to the court and he told the judge, I'm sorry, this happened. We used to drive in the left side. So the judge gave him pardon. Yes, okay, you are not knowing. Second time, he commit the same crime.
He was punished.
And then the judge, okay, all right, you're pardoned again. Oh, then third time, it is not a mistake anymore.
No, he knew.
It is like
Yes.
intentional now.
Yes.
So mistake, leaders can make mistakes, but they don't repeat the same mistakes. So we can have, to err is human. That's one
Yes.
of our
Yes.
defects, to commit mistakes. But we should not again and again commit the same mistakes again and again. That is not a mistake anymore.
No. True. That means you haven't learned from your previous mistake.
That is like, you're taking advantage
Yes.
again.
Yes, Maharaj. Yes. Maharaj tells a very good point. Actually, it's like the analogy. You shoot someone first and then say sorry. You already did it. You didn't ask. So Maharaj made a very important point. First ask permission and then act. Not act and afterwards ask forgiveness. No. Thank you, Maharaj, for a very important point. Thank you. So it's time. Thank you very much, everyone, for tolerating me. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Hare Krishna.